Today we're going to look at the Rox-filer a little bit more carefully and hopefully make it more functional than it is. I'm using the 32-bit puppylinux. It's a focal pup 32 as it states here. It is on a 32-bit machine with a 2 gig of RAM with a Celeron processor, but it is very snappy. Default key binding of Super R will bring up a Gexec application launcher, and we can go ahead and enter Rox as it already has, and enter, and it's going to bring up the although it looks like this on default, it actually looks like this. Sorry, okay. When you first open up on a fresh a copy of the ISO puppylinux, it looks like this. So what you can do is go ahead and Control H, or go to the I to bring to show up all the hidden files, dot files. And also I prefer to work in a smaller icon, so when I enter the minus key, it looks like this. So this is a root folder. So if I want to go to mainly etc folder, for example, I can enter the key of backslash, and brings up this little small entry, so I can go ahead and backspace and make sure you go back to the upper level. And for example, if I want to get into etc folder, I can just put in first letter E and then enter. So now I'm in a ECT folder, and I don't want the entry app here, so I just escape. And then because I want to see the full normal view rather than this view that's been cut off, I can do that with the Control E, and then it brings up the normal, so you can see all the files and directories. And if you want to go back to the home directory again, you can either enter here home, but because of I'm a keyboard driven person, and although the Rox is mainly a drop and drop keyboard driven application, I find it much more quicker for me to use the keyboard. And for the keyboard, if you enter Control Home, it is already programmed to go back to the home folder. So this is very helpful. So I mentioned just a backslash brings up this little menu, and escape gets you out of it. If you just enter period, it also brings up a small window, and then you can go back, and then you can just backspace, and it selects all the folders. And then if you go back again to the backspace, so it is very useful to select all and then escape, and then you can go back and go down to a down arrow, right arrow, and so on. So it's a basic way of manipulating around the Rox-filer. So let's go ahead and look at the main options. So we'll right click and then go to the options, and then basically what I usually like to do is look at the filer windows, and always resize 75 is fine. And then I like this configuration where sorting with the directories first, but if you don't want that, it just goes to the alphabetical. But I find it much more convenient just go to the directory first. And then new window, any new window that comes up, I like to get it so where it inherits the options of this window. And we want to icon view, show hidden files, and then icon view. It is set to large, but this icon view is small. So I like this particular view, so I just go down to small icons, and everything else pretty much stays the same. This is a list view is here. So this is the default list view, and you can either get rid of the column heading, full type, but I usually am at an icon view rather than the list view personally, and I find it I don't need the group or the owner, because the puppylinux is just a root driven rather than each user. So type this, and then we'll go back to the icon view again. So we'll look at, and we'll just I'll default the super right key brings to the right half of the screen. So we'll go down to tools. Once you get used to it, I find it that for me, because I use keyboard such extensively, I don't really need this. So I can usually just run it with a no toolbar, and for me that's more convenient. But we'll go ahead and leave it as toolbar. So if you want to use the toolbar, you can also add and delete to your liking. For example, I can add this direct left, so we can just see it's added here, and so you can mix, you can delete or add whatever you need. This is a close filer window here, but you actually have another one close button up here. But I prefer no icons at all, but we'll leave this as it is. Thumbnails, yeah, you can try to get thumbnails, and that's very helpful in a lot of cases. Rox-filer is actually also a window manager, so it actually so you can even put, let's see if we can demonstrate this. We'll go and see if we can demonstrate. So we'll go ahead and get to USR, local, and then apps. So you can actually just drag a application onto the desk bar here, and then you can run it as an application launcher. So we don't need to do that. And just to delete it, you can just go ahead and remove the item. You can do that with any app. So we'll just go Alt F4 to close, and we'll get out of that, and then Control H to get to the home folder. Let me continue on. So It also it also manages the doc, the Rox-filer. So let me just try to demonstrate that, and we'll go ahead and bring up urxvt, and then Rox. I think is the right and panel. See what happens. Yes, so you can, it creates the panel. So the Rox has a great potential, but it's actually much more, and you can also launch just by clicking here. You can also similarly put in an application that whatever you want to use it as a launch. It's like a browser application or whatever, so you can just click and see it starts all this. You can use it as a, this is all part of it. So one little caution, so you should not use a what's called a kill all Rox-filer, because what it will do is it will also eliminate the desktop. So I'll demonstrate maybe with a, we'll go ahead and launch Genie. So when normally if you just say kill all Genie, it's gonna, whatever the program that's running is gonna kill it. But what you don't want to write type in kill all Rox-filer, then you lose the screen. So that's one thing I learned, which I want to just pass on. So everything else is a pinboard is this function here. An icon is so that we don't need. So, and the other thing that I usually like to do is action windows. I like to so what this refers to is if you want to, for example, we'll just open up another let's open up another Rox, and if you wanna move a folder or a file into another folder, then you can let go. When you drag and let go, and you're going to get several choices here. And then, for example, if you want to copy, it's going to trigger sorry, that's not a very good demonstration. So, let me just make it easier. Just I just use this. So if you, for example, copy a folder, is here it's gonna copy everything underneath the subfolders, for example, and if you already have a same folder, it's going to add and merge. So I usually use that as default, and drag and drop. Right now it's on the default terminal here seems to be, and this 32-bit version is LX terminal, but I prefer urxvt. So, and also let's go down to small icons and terminal here. Default terminal emulator urxvt. And usually I like to add, let me just see exact usually I like to do this because that it changes the terminal appearance. So I'll demonstrate it in a second. So and then open the terminal with what's called a grave key. It's actually a grave key is where the is this key. So you put and that's usually referred to a root key, but so you push that, and it's going to bring up the terminal in that particular subfolder. I'll just show you in a second. So, and then icon theme, I prefer P material, so it looks a little different. Color, so right now you can see that these colors is going to change a little. So when that's going to be mainly black, and it changes. So depending on which looks better, your preference. And then default here is that if you want to trigger the menu on JWM, you can use F12, you bring up the menu. And then I find that if I pass all backdrop house clicks to window manager, what this does is that it brings up the same F12 menu, but you lose the ability to change the background wallpaper. There is other ways of doing that, but I prefer just doing it with that off, and then backdrop, and then you can drop in whichever backdrop, the wallpaper, JPG or PNG or whatever you want into here, and it's going to set that wallpaper. Okay, so I've forgotten exactly what I'm going to show you, but let me just continue on. So there are other extensive functions that I want to just show you. So let's see what if I want to open up a Rox in another folder. So let me just go ahead and backspace, and let's say we want to open up an down. So let's say etc. Okay. Let me just stop at this point. Let's continue. Now I want to just get rid of the panel here. So we'll just right click and then remove panel, and then we'll say OK. So that's out of the way. Now there is a quick way of changing to another folder, and let me just demonstrate that. So if I just click it on the downloads folder here, you're going to get a view of the download, obviously. And you know, Rox is the only file manager that I know gives you a clue as to recently accessed file by making it bold. So this is this file is being used for YouTube, making this video, but this is one I already looked at, and this is actually being created at this moment. So let me just go back to the but you notice that it's actually covering up the is still remaining on this level. So what we want to do is we want to have a download folder view perhaps over here. So we can do that by dragging it over there initially, and then put it roughly here, and then right click and then display, and then go all the way down, save current display settings, and it's going to try to save the position and size and so on, and we'll just say OK. And then we want to try to be able to open the downloads quickly. So what I can do is go to Control 2, and then what that does is memorize to 2. So let me just go back to the original home folder, and we wanna similarly we wanna just put it here, and then we go to a display, and then go all the way down to save. Now here we're gonna make it a control 1. So now what happens is that when I just click 2, it's going to go to the downloads, and when I click 1, it's going to go to the so now we have a quick way of going to another folder just with the number. So let me just demonstrate a little bit further. So we're going to bring up a terminal emulator, and this you can either use F4 or what's called a gray button next to the escape. So we'll just use a gray button, and brings up urxvt. You notice that the color of urxvt is different because I've just going back options here under menus, I entered the urxvt foreground is green, background is black. So that's what so this verifies that it is being indeed opened from the same folder configuration. So so you can see pwd, so it's the root. Okay, what I wanted to just demonstrate is we're going to make a directory here, and we're going to call it a my pictures directory, and then on bottom of that subdirectory I'll just create a p4 directory. So we'll go ahead and exit out of this. So you can see with the bold accentuation there's my pictures, and there's P4 underneath. So we'll just go ahead and go back. We can just go back to just by typing in 1 actually. Okay, so now what we want to demonstrate is that when you click P4, we want to have it opened about here, let's say. So when I click and then click, so this is a subfolder P4, we'll leave it about here. And then we're going to right click on display and save current display settings and say OK. And then we're going to give it a command of control 3. So whenever I push in 3, it's going to open this up. So we're going to go back to 1, and then 2, which is download folder, and 3, which is so you can see how this works, and you can do that with any folder. And let me just demonstrate. Here's another partition in my hard drive, and I want to be able to open that. And so first thing we have to do is to make sure that this partition opens with every boot. So we'll go ahead and right click and run pmount. So we'll go ahead and pmount. And then here's so you get a little window here. We wanna, this is SDA2. We go down here, mount partition at boot. So we wanna click that, and then we also wanna take a brief look. So when you boot next time, it's gonna mount this this file system. So what we can do is here, put it about here, and then display, go down again, current display, and then save the setting, and then for example we'll make it a control 4. So when you boot next time, this will be automatically mounted, and from whatever the Rox you're on, if you just type in 4, it's going to open up this partition again. So this is all pretty helpful, and I think we'll go ahead and end up here for today. Thanks.